In the 1970s, there was actually a hockey league that rivaled the NHL, called the Western Hockey Association, or WHA for short. This league poached tons of NHL players by offering them way higher salaries than their NHL teams. To give you an idea, the average NHL salary at the time was $25,000. The highest paid player in the WHA was Sanderson of the Philadelphia Blazers, and he was making $2.6 million annually. That was more than even Pele was making. Players were also more willing to leave their NHL team because of some of the policies that the NHL had at the time. One of the policies that really had players angry was the fact that even if you weren't signed to a team, you were still considered their property for another year. So if you wanted to become a free agent and sign with another team, you would have to not sign with your former team and then wait a full season before being able to sign with another team. Another reason the WHA was able to have some success was because they tapped into markets that the NHL refused to tap into. It was both smaller Canadian markets and big American markets that the NHL just hadn't reached yet. However, the WHA had continuous financial problems throughout the entirety of its existence, including in the first season, where multiple teams relocated and folded during the first season and even before they ever dropped the puck. And another issue, nobody viewed them as a major league. People weren't all that interested in going to see what they thought was semi-pro or amateur hockey when they could go see the NHL. This led to teams having major stadium problems, as they weren't generating enough money for the stadiums to want to keep them around. And as a result of all of this, talks of a merger with the WHA and the NHL happened from the very beginning. Finally, the WHA caved in and tried to start negotiations with the NHL in 1977. However, the WHA thought a little too highly of themselves and wanted a little too much in the merger. Therefore, the NHL declined them throughout the first 2 years of negotiations. Eventually, the WHA had no ground to stand on, and when they were limited to just 6 teams when they started with 10, they finally caved in and agreed to the NHL's terms. So in 1979, when these terms were made official, 4 WHA clubs were set to become NHL clubs. Those 4 WHA clubs were the Edmonton Oilers, the Winnipeg Jets, the Hartford Whalers, and the Quebec Nordiques. 3 of those franchises are still in the NHL today, even though the Hartford Whalers relocated to Carolina to become the Carolina Hurricanes, and the Quebec Nordiques relocated to Colorado to become the Colorado Avalanche. And even though the original Winnipeg Jets had to fold eventually, they still impacted today's NHL by inspiring the same exact branding name for the brand new Winnipeg Jets organization. Oh, and some guy named Wayne Gretzky came over with the Edmonton Oilers. They seem to think he's a pretty big deal.